So let's put it in context. We're down about 35% in Bitcoin. Now, that is a big drawdown, right? It's going to take quite a while to recover from this. However, we don't have to go back that long to see a drawdown that was much larger, right? In 2022, you can see a 78, you can see a 55. It's kind of just comes with the territory. If you're going to be trading crypto and you think you're going to be able to keep your drawdowns the same level as if you're trading equities, it's just not going to happen. Crypto, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. I'll give you a little bit of very brief history of my crypto. I'm certainly not claiming to be a Bitcoin expert. I started trading it in about mid-2022. I bought a couple of Bitcoins. I did a live stream, back in June 2022, 5 myths of Bitcoin or something like that. And I talked about the reasons why I bought 2 coins. It was basically a play on social media. There's a lot of people pumping it and it just seemed like, kind of easy money. And I rode that up to about in the low 90s, low mid 90s. And I ended up selling them. I'm not the type of person that does the whole buy and hold thing. It's just not my style. I'm a tactical investor. I like to get in there and kind of mess with things. And my main priority is reducing drawdowns. And buy and hold on something that can have an 80% drawdown just makes no sense to me. So that's basically where I'm at. The one interesting thing that I will say is every time Bitcoin crashes, for me personally, the one thought that I always have is we don't actually need it, do we? Right? It's hard to see when everything's going well. When Bitcoin is at an all-time high and a bunch of people are, pumping it online, everybody talks about how world-changing Bitcoin is. It's going to revolutionize the world. It's just the greatest thing in the world. And then it crashes 35, 40%. And you kind of think to yourself, okay, nothing happened to the banking system. Nothing happened to global trade. Nothing happened to any institution's functionality. The economy didn't even notice. When Bitcoin crashes, you kind of realize very starkly that there really are no practical applications. I mean, this thing's been around since 2010, basically. There's no practical reason why the world needs any of this at all. Like every crypto, all 19 or 20,000 of them could just blink out of existence tomorrow morning. And all that would happen is investors would have lost money. People who held Bitcoin would have lost money. But the world itself would not even notice. And I think that that's an important thing to realize. Nothing would happen if crypto disappeared. You have to be careful investing in something where the world and the institutions and the banking system has no vested interest whatsoever to rescue any of it. There's no reason to. It's just a bunch of people losing money. If the price of Monets and Air Jordans started to drop, all that would happen is people who hold those assets would lose money. The banking system wouldn't even flinch, right? And so that's not the same thing if the real estate market crashes. That's not the same thing if the bond market crashes. That's a big deal. They're going to be right there to save it. That's not the same thing if the stock market crashes. The pension funds, the institutions, the whole world is based on the financial system that we have in stocks, bonds, and real estate. That's what it is. And they get rescued and, we can't allow them to drop. Crypto? Who cares? Let it go. Let it all burn. It doesn't matter. So my only point is make sure you have a reasonable investment if you are a crypto person, because you have to understand you're buying something that is completely irrelevant in the world that we live in. And that becomes very clear when it crashes, right? No institution noticed. Nothing happened. It's not money. It's not used in global trade. We'll get to the transactions in a minute, but it is what it is. So what I do is I try to just actively trade it. So I've been trading this strategy for, 2.5 years, give or take. Again, I'm not claiming to be a Bitcoin expert here. I'm not one of the early adopters. I'm not an OG in the space. I'm just a dude that looks at a very wild and crazy speculative asset. And I think to myself, I wonder if I could just chip away at that drawdown a little bit. And if I could do that, then maybe I could make a whole lot more money than people who buy and hold. That's how my brain works. That's how my strategies work. I don't look at the number that I could potentially make. I look at this and say, I bet you there's a way that I could reduce that drawdown a significant amount. And if I can do that, I might really be onto something. But this Bitcoin strategy is not in our main portfolio. So I give trade signals for it, but you can see it's not in the performance. So when you go on the website, if you just go to my website and go to portfolio, you can see it's not mentioned anywhere in the trading results, right? All the results that you see, it does not include Bitcoin. This is an entirely optional strategy, labeled clearly, this is optional. And the reason that it's optional is because of this chart here. If you look at this, I've been tracking now since 2021, right? So this is about almost 5 years now. the relationship between Bitcoin and triple leveraged NASDAQ. And you can see very, very similar. Triple leveraged NASDAQ is a little bit better than Bitcoin now. It wasn't a few weeks ago. A couple months ago, it wasn't, but it is. They kind of trade back and forth. But you can see that it's very highly correlated here. And like I said, given that our defensive rotation strategy is absolutely crushing it for us, there would be no reason for me to throw a Bitcoin strategy that is basically correlated to it. Why would I do that? So I put about 5% of my capital in this, and I'm just going to see if I can chip away at the drawdown and make a whole bunch more money than the people who, quote unquote, diamond hands the thing. But this is very interesting, right? That it's basically very, very correlated to the NASDAQ. So when I'm trading Bitcoin, personally, I'm using the IBIT. Now, you could use Bitcoin. You could just get in there and buy and sell on those same days. That's totally fine. But of course, you can imagine it's a little bit more annoying. Now, if you're very used to it, it's fine. I'm an equities trader. I'm a derivatives trader. I don't mind at all using the IBIT. You can see how well it tracks. There's going to be a little bit of inefficiency. There's fees involved, a little bit of rebalancing issues. But overall, it's basically just use the IBIT to make it all easy. Now, you could also use the grayscale, the GBTC. You can see this is going back to the launch of IBIT, which was on January 10th, 2024. So basically almost 2 years and pretty close, right? I mean, you're kind of splitting hairs here. I think IBIT is better. And given that this is IBIT here, you can see it's $87 billion of assets and GBTC is $20 billion. This is not a small fund. This is huge. You can easily trade GBTC if you want to. But I just think that given that IBIT is bigger and IBIT tracks a little bit better, it tracks with slightly less errors, I just think that IBIT's the one. So that's what I personally do whenever I say Bitcoin. Obviously, the signal is either gold or IBIT, Bitcoin. That's where we're at with that. Now, where's the next chart? I know it's coming. This one. The ugliness of MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy, I do apologize if you are a holder of it. I have a friend who holds it. He actually bought it at a crazy low price, about $20. So hold some of them still. And if you are a holder of it, I just want to preface this. Like, I'm not a type of person who really cares about, putting all the caveats out there. And if I hurt your feelings, I hurt your feelings. No hard feelings. Just come back next week. But when I talk negatively about MicroStrategy, it's kind of a cult following. So I'm not trying to insult you or your guy, your Michael Saylor. Awesome. You like him, go for it. You do your thing. I just preface this by saying I'm just a numbers guy. So we've got Bitcoin and MicroStrategy going back to the launch of basically when they started doing the Bitcoin strategy stuff. And out the gates, Bitcoin was better. MicroStrategy kind of crashed real hard down here. I mentioned my buddy bought it basically right there. So, I mean, an incredible timing on that purchase. And I think he still has, some of the shares left. It just went on a crazy run and it went all the way up into the 500s. But obviously recently, Bitcoin is down 35%, right? That's what we said. IBIT's down to about there. But MicroStrategy, even from this peak, it's down 62, but from here, it's down almost 70. At the very, very peak, it's 70% down. And so now when we look at the charts, it's basically the same, right? They basically have made the same return. MicroStrategy has a bigger drawdown. Now, the thing is, again, this is something that I often hear, and I'm not trying to insult your guy, but what I often hear from the Bitcoin MicroStrategy people is that it's not only a Bitcoin trust, which is awesome and it's great, but it's also got the convertible bonds and all these things, and it's also a software company. So I just want to look at a chart here just to kind of poke a hole in that. Again, just looking at the facts. This is MicroStrategy stock price from 2010 up until they started buying Bitcoins in 2020. So for 10 years, during arguably one of the strongest bull markets in history, MicroStrategy made no money. So the idea that this is a Bitcoin and a software company, kind of ludicrous. No, it is not. It is a 100% Bitcoin strategy. Don't even pay any attention to the underlying stock. It is a total non-issue. As we all know, Saylor made a bunch of money in the dot-com stuff, and the company has been an absolute nightmare since then. So I would just say it is a Bitcoin company. And given that it is a Bitcoin company, what's it worth? Well, it's worth the value of the Bitcoins. That's it. And I would even argue that it might be worth less than that just because of the completely muddy waters and the shady marketing and the convertibles and the stride and the strike and the strife and all these things that he's trying to do. I would say it's probably worth even less than the Bitcoins he holds because there's just so much uncertainty surrounding all of it. I would just rather have the damn Bitcoins personally. personally. So he basically holds almost 650,000. You can see the NAV and you can track all of these things. Actually, right now, I mean, it's been changing day to day because it's been going down so much, but there really isn't a whole lot of premium anymore. If you hold MicroStrategy at 175, that's kind of ballpark to what the Bitcoins themselves are worth. So you could certainly make a case that it has finally reached fair value. Obviously, in the 500s, I mean, this was, I don't mean to be rude. Again, I don't want to criticize the people who follow this, but when it got that high and people are playing like 2x and 3x the premium over the Bitcoins, this kind of started reminding me of the financial advisor industry where people are basically collecting fees, let's say 1% to 2% fees. And all they're really doing is they're putting your money in the exact same buy and hold pie chart portfolio that you can do yourself for free. And they're collecting your money and they're telling you, through slick marketing and, financial talk and letters behind their name that they're somehow adding value. And no, you don't understand. Like, you have to pay me because I'm adding value. And really, you can just see that, okay, I could do this myself and pay nothing, or I could give you 1% of my money every year for the rest of my life for doing the exact same thing. That's kind of what Bitcoin is, right? That's kind of what MicroStrategy is. You could just hold the Bitcoins, or you could pay a big premium to have that dude who holds the Bitcoins for you, and he collects a premium. Well, again, no offense to anybody who held it, but no thanks. I'll just hold the Bitcoins myself, thanks. But there we go. I would say it's probably pretty close to fair value. A few more charts to look at. Transaction history. You can see Bitcoin really, I mean, like I said, is it changing the world? No. It's kind of the same thing it's always been. People are not really adopting it that much. Nobody's going to Starbucks using Bitcoin. It's just not going to happen. It's just a speculative asset, and that's it. So, of course, it gets more difficult to mine. So people might start losing interest. You can see this one is the mining profitability. Obviously, if the price goes down, the difficulty of mining Bitcoin is steadily increasing. I think we're at about 19.5 million Bitcoins out there. There really isn't that many left, and it's going to get exponentially harder to mine them. If the price goes down, people will just turn away from it. It will no longer be profitable to do this. Median transaction value, again, kind of like illustrating the point that, Bitcoin's kind of just sitting there. It's just a bunch of people trading Bitcoins back and forth with each other. It's really not changing the world in any way that I can see. This is the Google Trends on Bitcoin. It's just getting less and less popular. Again, I don't mean to be that guy. I have been somewhat critical on the Bitcoin and the crypto stuff. I would say, just looking at the charts objectively, I think there's good reason to be that way. Like I said, MicroStrategy at 500 just made 0 sense. I would say at 175, you could either hold the Bitcoins yourself or you could hold MicroStrategy at 175. It's kind of the same thing. As far as Bitcoin itself, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I can't make any, direct recommendations that way, but I would say make sure that it's a reasonable percentage of your net worth if you're playing around in that space, because you are playing, right? Nothing wrong with playing, but it's not a critical thing in our world. Like, if Trump's already made his $3 billion doing the rug pull with his fake meme coin, he could just let it die now. Like, he's already made his billions of dollars. What does he care? Like, it's not used in banking. Just let it go. I'm sure David Sachs made his money. Mark Andreessen's already cashed out. Like, they've all done it. Like, it might just kind of fizzle. I don't know. I'm just talking here. I'm just a guy on a live stream, but seems to me like a lot of the key players have already made plenty of money and they might just move on to the next thing. So NFTs, remember those things? Remember the diehard NFT people would literally argue and tell you, no, you don't understand. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You think it's worthless. You don't understand. The world needs this. You have to have a way to prove that you're the only one who has this digital asset. And we're all looking at it like, just photocopy, like, just, it doesn't matter. The world doesn't need this. You don't need to pay $100,000 because you have the only digital copy of something. Who gives a shit? And NFTs just totally disappeared, right? They're worth $12 now. It's not the same thing, but is it the same thing? I don't know. Let's get into some questions. I think I've insulted enough people in my audience today. I think I got to chill out and make some of the friends back of the people who are like, this guy, I'm not listening to him. But I will say, sometimes listening to somebody who has an opposite view of you even though it might make your blood boil a little bit, it's beneficial. You should listen to alternative points of view sometime. You don't have to listen to me, but there's nothing wrong with giving someone a little bit of leeway to disagree with you. Maybe I made you think about a few things today.